Hola, 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 ¿cómo están todos? Lavé mis beauty blenders. Miren, ya están todas lavadas. ¡Woo! ¡Woo! Todas lavadas. Ah, Ok. Me voy a hacer un maquillaje. No voy a salir. Aquí voy a estar en la casa. Voy a acomodar mi... Uy, tengo polvo. Voy a acomodar mi beauty area of my room. Al rato voy a tener un beauty room. Es lo que estoy esperando. Ok. ¿Qué me haré? ¿Qué me haré? Esta la voy a guardar. A ver, ¿qué me haré? ¿Qué me haré? ¿Qué me haré? Ok. Bueno. 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 Ya compuse el internet, porque si no mejor hablado mi papá ahorita. El internet no estaba jalando. Bueno, me voy a hacer un nude color ahora. Un nude color. Tengo la palette de Color Pop. Color Pop. Color Pop. Color Pop. Y yo hice mis propios colores. Esta la hice en nude color. Miren, todos los colores que le puse. Y voy a usar la palette de Murphy Glamour Palette. Como Glamour. Y está bien bonita la palette, like super beautiful. Entonces voy a usar estos two palettes. Esta está bien pesada. Voy a usar estos two palettes.
So he had only met her like June. They were already talking Will and all this. And I was like, who do you mean? Just me? Right. In a month you're talking Will and all this.
Aquí está un moradito, como un moradito. Está un moradito y luego hay varios cafecitos que me gustan. Aquí me gustan los glitters que puse.
So I warned him when I heard. We thought that Alan might have had a grudge against her because she was dating Dwayne.
Me echo moradito arriba y luego cafecito y luego ya un glitter, un shimmer y luego un glitter. Yo miro una palette y miro los colores y todo y luego. Espérame.
When I met Jamie for the first time, I was shy. He tried his best to make me feel welcome. He was just really nice. He wanted to be my friend, so
Okay.
at that point, I spent quite a bit of time with him.
Estaba hablando con mi mom porque no estaba jalando el internet y le dije que me iba a hablar. ¿Me la puse bien? Sí, me la puse bien. Dice mi mom que me eche un cafecito, un light brown, como un dark brown, un light brown y luego el remote es el red color. No lo puedo decir muy bien.
I'm gonna tell you this, and you can't say anything.
Bueno, estoy happy. Ahora me siento feliz. Ahora me siento feliz. No sé por qué. ¿Por qué me siento feliz? Pero yo estoy feliz. Feliz. I'm happy. Happy.
Since I now knew
Bueno,
that
ok.
I would agree to
A ver.
he would take out someone I cared about.
A ver.
He's like, honestly, if I'm going down, I just hang out.
Estoy hyper. I'm hyper. Por eso estoy fumando. Apenas comencé a fumar ahorita porque me siento hyper, like I feel hyper.
It was the hardest choice I think I ever had to make. Like, it hurt worse than any breakup I've ever experienced. It hurt worse than anything bad I ever really had happen to me. This was the worst thing. It was like a person. I never saw this coming.
Mire.
We had some good times together, and I'm so grateful for those. A lot of laughs, a lot of tears. To this day, I still call.
Ok, déjame hacerme el otro ojo.
The city of Renton, Washington. As a few colleagues Seattle suburb, straddling the shore.
Me voy a sellar el maquillaje con polvo. Estoy usando el Beauty Correction polvo, el tono 2. Tono 2. Ellos no tienen los tonos en colores, solamente 2, 3, así nada. Sube hasta 20 creo. Ah, voy a usar el Too Facet Coconut Control. Ay, huele a chocolate. Qué rico huele. Esta marca me encanta. Ahora estoy usando casi todo caro. Todo expensive. Para que ustedes miren que te haces un maquillaje con barato y te haces un maquillaje con expensive, se mira igual. Igual. No tiene nada de diferencia.
the police. We were very suspicious.
Este es para las cejas, es
The
nuevo.
only way to corroborate Gio's story
Como ya no voy a vender maquillaje, estoy agarrando todo lo que tenía para la venta.
for questioning.
Miren.
Okay, let's go back now to when Kathy went missing. Do you remember that night?
John had previously claimed that he and Zeke had played video games together at his apartment all night long. But what he says next leaves investigators stunned.
You told me that Zeke got there about 7 o'clock. We spent the evening and night at your house.
Roughly, that's right. It's probably a dream now, but I have a lot of realistic dreams, so it could have been a dream, it could have not been.
Red lights are going off. Oh yeah, he wasn't there the whole night. What he originally told us the year before could have just been a dream.
I don't believe anybody in the room is lying.
I have Kathy's photos from
That's super dark.
on the 18th.
Es negro.
Reports from the cell towers plotting points. They all show you guys right together. Right in the same spot. Between like your house and everybody's apartment. That area. That really woody swampy area.
Both Kathy Chow's and Ezekiel Watkins' cell phone pings placed it together on April 18th around 8 p.m. at Boulevard Lane Park last year.
When I confront Mr. Watkins with that information, I could see him to flee. It was like somebody had punched him in the face. And
Bueno, ni modo.
then my suspect
Vamos a seguirle.
When
¿Qué color es? ¿Qué color agarré?
said no. And is that really the truth? You saw it.
So Zeke
Brown.
said and went to Boulevard Park.
Es natural.
You guys walked around.
he didn't want to tell us about
Brown?
it because they had been arguing.
You guys were arguing that night? Yeah. So what was that all about?
Zeke tells us that he and Kathy were involved in an argument over his relationship with Jamie Marlowe. And that
Zeke claims that Kathy's death was an accident, but detectives believe it was murder. In order to build their case, they question John Carpenter again to see what he knows about the plot.
Zeke has told me, made a mention to me today, that he was responsible for Kathy's death. He said that you helped him, did a great fight. So, I did.
When police ask John why, his answer is surprising.
I don't know, and my mind just went blank, and I just looked at him like, he's a friend. And I just can't really turn him down.
On July 8th, 2011, John Carpenter agrees to escort police to Boulevard Lane Park. where Kathy was
También negra.
The next day, a forensic team unearths a body. Which an autopsy later confirms to be Kathy Chow.
Okay.
was murder in the first degree. Kathy's parents, if they would like to go out to the site where we recovered.
Le voy a echar pegadura a mis pestañas mientras dejarlas que se seque un ratito.
Thunder and lightning.
That typically sets off many residential. Our dispatch receives a call
Ok,
from alarm. They
me
say-
voy a quitar el polvo.
He looks around the house and checks the windows.
During the inspection, the officer spots something horrifying and immediately calls for backup. A short time later, detectives Jerry Iyer, Daryl Fikes, and Stephen Fry arrive at the scene.
When I entered the house, that I could see there was a deceased female laying face down in the living room floor.
There was blood and trauma to her head.
Blood in her hair was already
No me
dry,
gustaron estas cejas.
but we didn't see
No me gustaron.
any other major injuries.
Las negras, no, 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 no. Me las voy a quitar.
Surrounding it were strange. What had
Me
happened.
las voy a pintar como se me las pintó.
With the
No,
security
hombre.
company,
Qué naca, qué naca.
the victim is 68-year-old Etta Jean Westbrook. Detectives search the home for signs of a break-in.
Ok. Ahorita me hago las cejas otra vez. Ay, no, qué naca.
She would talk to anybody. Whatever she did, everything was done with a passion.
My mother was a very Christian woman. She loved all her kids and their grandkids. She was just a loving person.
Etta Jean is also devoted to her husband, Cecil.
Mother used to get up and cook for Daddy 4 o'clock in the morning. Biscuits, sausage, eggs, before he went to work.
Deborah tells detectives that her mother has lived alone ever since her father passed away last year. The widow found comfort in her friends and many hobbies.
We learned that she was into pottery. She had a kiln in the garage.
She just loved to paint. She found something that she really enjoyed.
Randy tells police that his mother had left him a voicemail a little after 1 p.m.
She called me up. She said, "Hey, Randy, hey, Mom, just got home. Give me a call."
Confirming that Etta Jean was still alive at 1 p.m., 13 hours earlier. Investigators begin piecing together a timeline.
And that was her last message to me. And I did leave that message. wish I would, man.
As police continue processing the crime scene, neighbors start gathering on Etta Jean's front lawn.
Word of this incident spread fairly quickly through the media, so the neighbors were all fully aware of what had just taken place. Such a small neighborhood. Kind of rattled the community.
Upon speaking to other residents on Oak Hollow Drive, investigators learned that Etta Jean was a beloved fixture in the neighborhood.
Mama just loved this town. She just loved this house and the neighborhood too.
Of Etta Jean's many friends, she was particularly fond of Geraldine Lloyd, her neighbor across the street.
My grandmother being on that street for decades, and Miss Etta also, they watched out for one another. Miss Etta was a friend that she could rely on.
Etta Jean was also close to the rest of the family, who shared Geraldine's home.
At that time, her household included my Aunt Kelly and her 2 children. My Aunt Kelly went to the same high school that Miss Etta's son Curtis went to.
Back at the lab, the medical examiner performs an autopsy on Etta Jean Westbrook.
We knew that we had a deceased person with a head injury, although we did not know the extent of those head injuries at that time.
After a thorough examination, the ME reveals shocking details.
Miss Westbrook had received 25 blows to the top of her head. That was determined to be her cause of death. At that time, we knew that we had a homicide. I knew something was wrong.
Ahora me voy a echar blush. Se me olvidó echarme blush ahorita. I forgot.
June 4th, 2007. Authorities discover 68-year-old Etta Jean Westbrook beaten to death inside her Bryan, Texas home. That evening, while police are still processing the crime scene, the car was crashing under the victim's front lawn.
I knew something was awry.
Officers refuse to allow the man inside. He finally identifies himself as 41-year-old Curtis Westbrook, Etta Jean's youngest son.
We looked at him as a suspect.
Generally, in that kind of a brutal homicide, you want to immediately look at family members. We don't see a lot of real brutal homicides unless it's a family member against family member.
As Curtis explains, after he received a call from his sister about his mother's death, he immediately set off on the 3-hour drive to Bryan from his Dallas home.
He was trans. They didn't know what was going on.
We asked him several questions about his mother.
Curtis is the baby of the family, so I mean he was closest to mother because he lived only 3 hours away.
Since Etta Jean's other 2 children live out of state, Curtis is the only one who had access to his mother's home at the time of her death.
There could be a motive there. Money, life insurance, something.
Curtis claims that for the last 48 hours, he was in Dallas, home alone. With no one able to corroborate his alibi, investigators are wary.
We did ask for his DNA.
Because if he did have something to do with it, and he started suspecting that we were looking at him, he may take off.
Curtis agrees to the DNA swab. The detective subpoenaed his phone records in an attempt to confirm his whereabouts that day. As dawn breaks, police turn to the community for help.
We conducted a neighborhood canvass fairly early in the investigation, hoping that it would lead to our suspect.
They begin outreach across the street at the home of Etta Jean's close friend, Geraldine Lloyd. But the house is empty.
What we tried to do from the very beginning was to determine a timeline for her previous 24 to 48 hours.
Investigators work their way down the block, going door to door. And after speaking to nearly a dozen residents, they uncover a promising lead. A neighbor claims that he had seen Etta Jean at around 9 a.m. on Sunday, approximately 15 hours before her body was found.
We learned that she had been at church that morning and then had returned home sometime around lunchtime. We do not believe that she ever left the house after that.
The autopsy report estimates Etta Jean's time of death to be between 1 and 2 p.m., meaning the killer somehow entered the home in broad daylight without triggering the alarm. Or even more terrifying, was invited in. Etta Jean's children are devastated when they hear the gruesome details of her death.
They came and told us it was a homicide. It was horrible. I couldn't comprehend it. This just doesn't happen to our family. I mean, we've had sickness, cancer, but murder?
They hit him 25 times. They had him hit.
He had beaten her face in.
Meanwhile, police received Curtis Westbrook's phone records, which prove
Bueno, este es el maquillaje del día de hoy. Me gustó cómo salió. Miren. Bueno, los miro en otro video. Los quiero mucho. Les mando un beso, un abrazo. Y los vemos en otro video. Adiós.